Hello again, and welcome to our first virtual public meeting regarding the Three Rivers Regional Transit Development Plan. The goal of this plan is to advance and improve public transportation options in the region, and the goal of this meeting is to inform you about this process and solicit feedback regarding transportation issues in the Three Rivers area. The plan is a joint effort between the Georgia Department of Transportation and the Three Rivers Regional Commission. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Will Butler. I'm the project manager for the Three Rivers Regional TDP. I'm joined tonight by Robert Greer and Archie Chin, two of our transportation planners for this project. Also, Jonathan McLeod from the GDOT Intermodal Division and Stephanie Wagner from the Three Rivers Regional Commission. In this meeting, we'll provide information about the project background, explain the regional transit development planning process, and let you know some of the information we've compiled about the existing conditions. We'll also explain our next steps in the process. We'll also conduct a brief public feedback exercise using Mentimeter, a web-based application that lets us record your ideas and input. To use Mentimeter, visit www.menti.com on your phone or web browser and enter the code shown here. Or you can use your phone camera to scan the QR code. We'll show you the screen again before the exercise begins, so don't worry if you missed this. And if you're watching the recorded version of this meeting, don't worry, you can still participate in the feedback exercise and we'll be able to review your comments later. First, we're going to provide you with some information about the history behind the Regional Transit Development Plan process. In 2020, the Georgia Department of Transportation published the Statewide Transit Plan, an extensive document designed to guide the future of transit investment here in the state. While documenting transit needs across the state of Georgia, GDOT identified the need for greater coordination, planning, and investment in regional transit services. Following up on the statewide transit plan, GDOT developed the Regional Transit Development Plan Guidebook, which provides a framework for creating plans like this. Following the publication of the TDP Guidebook, GDOT has been partnering with the regional commissions across the state to draft regional transit development plans. The first two plans were completed in 2023 in the Georgia Mountains and Southwest Georgia regions. The Three Rivers region is one focus for this next round of planning. So what is a TDP, and how can it help improve transportation access for residents here in West Georgia? The primary purpose of a regional TDP is to identify transit needs within an area and recommend changes and improvements that inform future investment. TDPs are long-range plans with 20-year horizons. These plans help communities to develop a vision for transit and then provide a list of investments that can assist in achieving these mobility goals. Here's our current schedule, with the first star showing where we are tonight. The project team has wrapped up the existing conditions analysis and will present some of those initial findings here in a moment. We've also recently kicked off the needs assessment and alternatives analysis portion of the plan, which uses information gathered from the existing conditions report, along with feedback garnered from this meeting tonight, to find where transit improvements are needed the most. We'll also use this data to provide a list of possible solutions. Following this, the team will compile a final plan and submit that to the public for comment. After public comments received, we'll submit it to the Three Rivers Regional Commission for plan approval and adoption. In addition to tonight's meeting, there'll be other opportunities to make your voice heard. Plan documents and news updates will be added to the regional TDP website. You probably visited this site today before you joined this meeting. Along with the website, we'll host another meeting later in the year to provide updates on potential recommendations. And then finally, we've launched a public survey to solicit additional input about the plan. This survey launched today, and we'll provide a link to that at the end of the presentation. We're really excited for your feedback, that of other residents, so please don't hesitate to share the link to the survey with your friends, families, coworkers, or anyone you know who may be interested in making their voice heard. Now, we'd like to share with you a brief overview of the existing conditions that we've documented during our early research. These data have been compiled in a report that will inform the needs assessment and recommendations process. First, we like to talk about the various transit modes that are relevant to the region, so everyone's on the same page when we're using these sort of jargony terms. So when we're talking about the future of transit in the region, we're generally talking about the four modes that are shown here. Fixed route modes follow a set route each day, stopping at defined bus stops. City bus service functions best in more urbanized areas, and that's what most people think of when they imagine public transit. Commuter bus is similar, but operates across longer distances with fewer stops and usually only goes in one direction according to the time of day. Think in town in the morning, then out of town after work. The Three Rivers region already has some commuter bus service provided by ATL's Express that connects commuters from the Noonan area to downtown Atlanta. Demand response services that you see on the right, they don't follow fixed routes, and instead they provide service to customers upon request. These services can work in either rural or urban areas. The most common form of demand response service is Dial-A-Ride, where riders schedule a ride a day or more in advance by calling a local dispatcher. This public transit service is actually available in every county within the Three Rivers region. It's provided by systems like Carroll Connection, Troop Transit, and Three Rivers Regional Transit. Dial-A-Ride is a very flexible form of transit, but can be costly due to the long distances and low rider counts that are sometimes associated with this service. Microtransit is an emerging form of demand response service that uses real-time dynamic routing to provide on-demand service. Customers request a ride on a cell phone app, and a bus is then dispatched to them. Riders are provided with an estimated time of arrival and sometimes instructions on where to meet the bus. Microtransit can be an effective solution in smaller towns or suburban areas where ridership may not warrant a fixed route system. But if the microtransit zones get too large, wait times can become long and it becomes a less useful service. Another type of transit not shown here is deviated fixed route, which combines aspects of both city bus and demand response transit. On a deviated fixed route, the vehicle follows a set path and schedule with set stops, but with advance notice can deviate from the route to pick up passengers from locations a set distance from the route, usually about a quarter mile. This provides for more flexibility and can benefit older riders, the disabled, or other people who may have trouble getting to a bus stop. But it still maintains much of the efficiency of a regular city bus. So now that we've talked about the transit modes, we'll talk about the current transit services in the region. This map shows you the 6 local transit services that are currently available here in the Three Rivers area. Each of the 5 counties on the western half of the map, they have services where residents can book rides within their own county, with some services offering out-of-county service on a limited basis. And then riders in the eastern half of the region are served by Three Rivers Regional Transit, which provides trips to any location within that 5-county area. As I mentioned on the last slide, Coweta County is also connected to downtown Atlanta by the ATL commuter bus service. This slide shows some of the service characteristics of the transit services in the region. The 3 systems across the top are operated by the Three Rivers Regional Commission, while those on the bottom are directly operated by the counties they're in. Each system has fairly similar characteristics, operating the same modes across similar times. Each system provides daytime service, Monday through Friday, and all 6 require at least a 24-hour advance notice to guarantee a ride. This map shows key transit destinations within the region. This includes schools, medical facilities, supermarkets, dialysis centers, libraries, colleges. Most of these destinations, they're centered in Coweta, Spalding, Carroll, and Troup counties. Residents of the other counties may have to leave their home county or even the Three Rivers region itself to fulfill their day-to-day needs. A major aspect of this plan will include analyzing those needs to make sure we can improve cross-county and interregional connectivity. This slide presents some of that analysis. So using anonymized cell phone data, we're actually able to see a generalized picture of travel flows in the region. In general, we learned that 89% of all travel trips in the Three Rivers region start and end within the home county. If you look at this chord diagram on the bottom left, those same county trips are represented by these colored humps and domes. Most of these same county trips are again occurring in Coweta, Carroll, Troup, and Spalding counties. Unsurprisingly, the same counties we identified as having the most key destinations. So people aren't leaving their home counties as much in those areas. Inter-county trips are represented by, on this diagram, by those connecting lines and by the the top 5 county pairs, they're shown as arrows on this map. So these are the top 5 inter-county trip flows in the region. You see that 3 of the highest county to county pairs are actually connecting the rural counties like Pike, Meriwether, and Lamar to some of those counties that have the more key destinations. So we're seeing more inter-county travel from those rural areas. We also want to make sure we have a thorough understanding of the demographic and employment trends in the region. We use data from the US Census Bureau and the Georgia Department of Labor to analyze current and future trends for these topics. Mapping the top employers and the job locations helps us identify major commuting patterns, knowing where people work. And if we look at the population totals, along with totals for certain population segments that are more likely to ride public transit, that lets us see where the potential riders may live and lets us see if there's a disconnect or if we need to improve connectivity between the home and the work areas. Another element of the demographic analysis involves identifying areas that have been identified by the federal government as transportation disadvantaged. Areas are classified as disadvantaged based on a fairly complex calculation that involves looking at transportation access, poverty rates, risk of natural disaster, and a whole lot more. And looking at this, about 60% of the region's land area is classified as transportation disadvantaged, typically, as you can see in the more rural areas of the region. These areas are home to 41.9% of the region's residents. These areas are of special interest to this transit plan because we found that people in these disadvantaged areas are almost 70% more likely to not own a car than the average regional resident. And people without access to a vehicle are usually the most reliant on public transit. This designation is also significant because the US Department of Transportation has committed to spending at least 40% of its funding in disadvantaged communities. So there are significant funding opportunities that we want to be able to identify and target for these areas. So that concludes our project overview. And now we're going to jump into our feedback exercise. If you didn't have a chance to get it set up earlier, now's a great time to go and visit www.menti.com on your phone or your web browser and enter the code you see here. It's 32487066, that number. Alternately, you can scan the code with your phone there on the right. We're going to give everybody just a minute to get set up and get logged into the Menti, and then we will get rolling on that and jump into the questions. Our first question is a simple yes or no poll. And it's, did you know about the public transit services available to you in the region prior to this meeting? We talked earlier about the 6 public transit agencies, and the commuter bus service provided by ATL Express, stuff like that. So we want to gauge the level of awareness of the community about these options. Got a few people online today. It's good to see. And it looks like most people responding are aware. That's great. We'll give a few minutes on these slides or a few seconds on these slides afterwards to let people answer. Everyone's aware. That's really good. Some regions we've worked with before have had some trouble with advertising and awareness, so we want to kind of try to gauge that for the region. It looks like right now, at least among the people interested in this meeting, they know what's available to them, so that's great. So this question will generate a word cloud that's going to help us develop the vision and goals for our plan. And we just want to know, what is one word that comes to mind when you're thinking about what transit should be in the Three Rivers region? You can do an aspirational or a very direct word. We've seen words like convenient, innovative, affordable, which are all answers that would be interesting and useful for us to as we develop this statement. So just give everybody a chance to kind of brainstorm and think up one word for what they would love to see in transit for the region. Starting to come in. Improved. People want to see increased awareness. Someone said poor communication, which I think means we need to improve communication. So a more communicative system would be an advantage, and that's something we'll definitely want to take into account. Affordable, dependable. These are all really great things that you need for a transit system and areas that we could possibly look to improve. Convenient, punctual. When you're talking about demand response transit, being on time is extremely important. So we want to be extra sensitive to efficiencies there that can help buses stay on time and get people places and to their appointments on time. Bike and walk accessible, very important as well. Improved, some really good stuff. This is going to help us a lot as we move forward and start looking at ways to improve transit for the region. So I want to thank everybody for their input, and a few more here, so we'll let it keep going. Highly valued by the community. We'd love to see transit to be valued by the community. Absolutely. So we'll move on here to our next question. What are some destinations that people need transportation to? This will help us get an idea of where maybe unmet transportation needs exist in the region. Your answer can be about yourself or someone you know or the community in general. It can be a specific place, like if there's a certain hospital or college that you or people in general need to get to, or it can be very general medical appointments. It's stuff like that. So we just want to know, where do people need to go? What is the major transit need? Sometimes this is as simple as things like work, healthcare, and shopping. That's definitely people's really most important thing. Medical appointments. Henry County MARTA bus stop. See, very specific things like that can help us look and see. Henry County is just outside of the region, and so that's what we're talking about interregional connectivity. It's great to know that that's a need for people to get over to the other counties that might not be within Three Rivers designation. Grocery shopping, healthcare, work, all of these things are great. Colleges and universities, we know that there's demand for higher education transit among some folks in the Spalding area and others. So that's good to see that, and supporting local businesses as well. So thanks everybody for all of that. That's really good feedback. Again, this is a question you'll see again, MARTA again. So connecting transit systems, interconnectivity is important to folks. And you'll have options to answer similar questions again in the survey and give us more detailed feedback. So this is not your only chance to speak out. We'll move along here to our next question. UGA Griffin campus. That's something we've heard before, like I was mentioning, in the Spalding County area. So it's good to see that pop up here. We're going to definitely try to look at some options down there. What would encourage you to ride public transit in the Three Rivers region? We know in the region, most people get around by car, but if you're a regular transit rider, this is a great opportunity to give us feedback for potential improvements. If you're not a regular transit rider, let us know what it would take to get you on the bus. What kind of transit do you want to see? What sort of destinations do you want? Do you want to see more frequency? Do you want to see lower fares, better service hours? There's a million different options here. That's why it's an open-ended question. So we just want to know, for everyone out there tonight, what would be the thing that would help you the most become a transit rider or improve your experience as a transit rider in the region? Your town may need commuter service connecting you to Atlanta or to another larger area. Maybe there's a special shuttle you think would be beneficial to people. The sky's really the limit here for what you want to suggest. And again, if you have more ideas or things like that, you can email us later. You can fill it out in the survey. Phone app to schedule rides is our first answer. That's a very useful feature. We've seen that in a few communities be very utilized, and is definitely something we want to explore for integration into this systems in Three Rivers as possible. Less than 24-hour scheduling, again, another very useful thing for helping people get rides. Better info on transit routes posted. I think I think the more information for people, the better. Extended hours, dependable service. These are all great answers, things that are going to help us in our next phase, which, as I mentioned, is the alternatives analysis and recommendations phase. And that's when we'll really be looking in depth at potential changes that we can recommend for transit service in the region. So this is all really good stuff. I'm going to give people just a few more seconds here to type in, because I know some of these answers may be longer. So we'll let folks have just a little bit more time to make it heard, and then we'll click on to our final question. Okay, so our last question is simple. Is there anything else you'd like to share? This is your opportunity for completely open-ended feedback. This is also going to be hidden, so these answers aren't going to show up on the screen. So it's a little more private if you have something to say. So we'll review these later, and this is an opportunity to let us know very specific things if you may want us to know. You can, again, also send us an email, and we'd love to hear from you that way. Again, there may be some long answers here, so I just ask the participants to sort of bear with us. We're going to try to give folks a decent amount of time here to get these answers in to the Mentimeter so they get saved. Again, we just really want to thank everyone for showing up. It's great to have good showing of folks tonight here to talk about the plan. I really encourage you all. We're going to give you the link to the survey here in just a moment as we wrap up. And I really want to encourage everyone to go visit that survey and fill it out as soon as possible and share it with everyone you can. The more responses and the more answers we have, the more we have to go with, and it just makes it a much better plan, makes it much more informed. And if we can come up with a plan that has strong community support, it means we can implement some really good ideas that help everyone. So we really appreciate your feedback and your attendance tonight. I know everyone's busy. I'm going to give it 30 more seconds here, and then we'll click on and talk about next steps and give you that link for the survey and about a few other kind of finalizing things. Okay, well, that wraps up our presentation today. So the public survey, like I said, it'll be open for next month. So we'll close it out here in 30 days. So remember to fill that out as soon as you can. In the meantime, we're going to keep working on the plan. We've already begun conducting stakeholder interviews, and input from those interviews, the public survey, and that Mentimeter activity tonight are all going to inform our vision and goal statement that will be the guide for the rest of the whole planning process. So we'll hold another round of public involvement activities, including another meeting like this one in mid-2024. We'll be able to give you an update on our draft recommendations, give you that vision and goals statement, get your feedback on that, solicit your input about everything else. We hope that when we come back next time, we'll have some concrete ideas to bounce off of the public and get feedback on that. So we're really looking forward to that next round of input, and we can't wait to see you late spring, early summer. And we will use the same methods to put the word out, keep an eye on the website, keep an eye on social media, and we'll announce that date when we know it. So if you have any additional questions or concerns, you can always reach out to the project team. Here's that address. It's regionaltdp@dot.ga.gov. Don't forget to include Three Rivers Regional TDP in the subject line so we know which plan you're interested in. Like I said, Jonathan McLeod from GDOT is monitoring that, and he will get that out to the rest of the project team. Again, big thanks to Stephanie Wagner at the Regional Commission. My name's Will Butler with the project team. And and we really can't wait to hear more from you. Again, thanks everyone for your time. Please remember to take the survey. I know I've been harping on that. It's just so helpful for us to have a really robust survey response. Visit the link here, surveymonkey.com/r/Three Rivers TDP, or scan the QR code now. You can also find a link on the website if you don't have time to complete tonight or you're busy. So just check the website for that link. Make your voice heard. We really appreciate your time and your input tonight. We can't wait to talk with you more about the future of public transportation in the Three Rivers region. I hope everyone has a good night tonight. I hope everybody stays warm since it's got a cold snap ongoing, and you will hear from us soon about the future of this plan. Thanks, everyone, and have a good night.